The streets don't just make rappers, they make challengers. When NLE Choppa dropped his surprise track KO, he didn't just release a song, he declared war. He invoked Tupac Shakur's legacy, put a billboard in YoungBoy's hometown, and called out YoungBoy's influence, his role model status, his loyalty. Tonight we unpack how this diss exploded, the history behind it, the message in his lyrics, and why it matters. For years, NLE Choppa was seen as one of the few young rappers who didn't need controversy to win. The Memphis kid, who came up off Shatta flow, had a reputation for energy, positivity, and a focus on self-growth. He'd gone viral for his meditation videos, his vegan lifestyle, and his message of staying grounded. But when he changed his name to NLE The Great in 2025, something in the energy shifted. The smile was still there, but the patience was gone. Because behind the scenes, tension was already building. It started years earlier: quiet tweets, subliminal bars, the kind of unspoken competition that brews between two young kings who refused to bow to each other. On one side stood NLE Choppa, Memphis-born, self-made, confident, spiritual. On the other, NBA YoungBoy, Baton Rouge's outlaw prince, defiant, prolific, unpredictable. Both men represented opposite sides of the same coin: success born from chaos. But there's only room for one at the top. And when NLE dropped his latest track, KO, he didn't just release a song, he released a declaration. The cover art, the tone, even the marketing screamed confrontation. Fans immediately noticed the familiar aggression, the cadence of Tupac Shakur's "Hit 'em Up," the venom in each line. What was once a simmering rivalry had just erupted into open war. To understand why NLE Choppa went after NBA YoungBoy, you have to rewind the clock. The tension didn't begin overnight. Back in 2022, YoungBoy dropped Bring the Hook, a track that sent shockwaves through the scene. In it, he took aim at Chicago's O Block and, by extension, artists associated with that circle, including NLE, who'd shown solidarity with Lil Durk. The moment that line dropped, fans connected the dots. YoungBoy had fired the first shot. NLE didn't respond directly, at least not at first, but interviews and live sessions hinted at friction. He'd often talk about responsibility, energy, and influence, words that felt aimed at YoungBoy's reckless image. And while YoungBoy's supporters dismissed it as jealousy, others saw something deeper. For NLE, this wasn't just competition, it was principle. He'd built his rebrand around growth, healing, and being a role model. To him, YoungBoy embodied the opposite: destruction, chaos, and emotional toxicity. Their differences weren't musical, they were moral. Still, both artists share more in common than they admit. They're young, ambitious, and have both faced fame before full adulthood. That pressure creates collisions. And when NLE finally broke his silence, he did it the only way hip-hop respects: through bars, not interviews. In October 2025, NLE The Great emerged, and KO became his statement to the world. The preacher was done preaching. It was time to fight. When NLE Choppa dropped KO, the internet froze. The beat, grimy, militant, eerily familiar, was a direct homage to Tupac's "Hit 'em Up." From the opening line, he made his target clear.
Young boy, what? This the big boy league. I wanna be a cut under the G's of P.
But this wasn't just about lyrical bravado, it was personal. Throughout the track, NLE dismantled YoungBoy's image piece by piece. He called him out for hypocrisy, for preaching loyalty while surrounding himself with chaos, for influencing fans to glorify violence while hiding behind security and fame. Then came the most stinging accusation. NLE claimed YoungBoy was poisoning the culture, especially the youth. He rapped, "You poison the youth, nothing positive you do. You the reason none as beating bitches," thinking that it's cute. It wasn't just a diss, it was an indictment. NLE was accusing YoungBoy of being a negative role model, of failing the next generation he once inspired. For a rapper who prides himself on independence and authenticity, that kind of attack cuts deep. And just when fans thought the shots were finished, NLE raised the stakes again by putting billboards promoting KO in Baton Rouge, YoungBoy's own hometown. That wasn't marketing, that was invasion. To many, it was one of the boldest moves in modern rap history. A young artist walking into another rapper's city, planting his flag, and daring him to respond. NLE hadn't just dropped a diss track, he'd declared psychological war, and this was only the beginning. KO isn't just a diss track, it's a manifesto. NLE Choppa didn't just want to insult NBA YoungBoy, he wanted to redefine what beef means in this generation. Every bar in KO carries two meanings, one for the streets, one for the culture. culture. On the surface, he's challenging YoungBoy's dominance, calling him soft, fake, and overhyped. But beneath that aggression lies something deeper, a moral strike. NLE paints himself as the antidote to the negativity he believes YoungBoy spreads. He accuses him of turning violence into entertainment, pain into aesthetics. "You the reason the youngins think demons make them real." It's not just a punchline, it's a cultural accusation. He's telling fans, this isn't just rap anymore, it's influence. And influence, when misused, becomes poison. That's why the Tupac Shakur comparison matters. Billboard highlighted how NLE framed the song as a modern hit 'em up, channeling the same defiance Pac showed when calling out the fakes of his era. But while Tupac went after rivals for betrayal and ego, NLE is going after what he sees as moral corruption. He's positioning himself as the new voice of accountability, a dangerous stance in a culture where loyalty often matters more than truth. Even the title KO is symbolic. It's not about murder, it's about victory, knocking out an energy he thinks has dominated the game for too long. In that sense, KO isn't just a song. It's a public execution, not of a man, but of an attitude. Within 24 hours, KO dominated timelines. Billboard, Complex, The Source, every outlet had a headline about it. Fans dissected lyrics frame by frame, word by word. Some hailed NLE as brave, saying he dared to challenge a toxic figure in hip-hop. Others called him reckless, accusing him of chasing clout off one of rap's most popular names. But behind the chaos, the industry noticed something else: precision, the rollout, the timing, the Tupac parallels, the Baton Rouge stunt. It wasn't spontaneous, it was chess. Sources close to NLE told Complex he'd been crafting this response for months, waiting for the moment YoungBoy's energy dipped and the cultural appetite for accountability rose. The diss hit at the perfect time. YoungBoy had just been dealing with label politics and fan fatigue, and KO reminded everyone that reputation can flip overnight. Meanwhile, streaming platforms saw spikes in NLE's catalog. His rebrand to NLE The Great suddenly made sense. The new name symbolized rebirth through conflict. But the reaction wasn't just digital. Rappers quietly picked sides. Some reposted clips from KO, liking subtle dices in comments. Others warned that things could escalate. In an era where beef often ends in tragedy, the fear was real. Yet NLE seemed unbothered. In interviews, he said, "I'm not doing this for views. I'm doing this for truth." That's the paradox. He's fighting for morals using the most aggressive weapon in hip-hop, a diss track. And whether people love him or hate him for it, NLE The Great made one thing clear. He's not scared of YoungBoy, his fans, or the machine behind him. The only question now is, how will YoungBoy respond? Before KO, NLE Choppa was known for peace. After KO, he was known for power. The irony wasn't lost on fans. This was the same artist who'd once promoted meditation, veganism, and spiritual healing. He used to preach positivity, but now he was swinging at one of the most volatile rappers in the game. So, what changed? The answer lies in his transformation into NLE The Great. That name wasn't random, it was reclamation. After years of being underestimated, mocked for his positivity, and labeled soft, he was done playing nice. This new era wasn't about healing others, it was about protecting himself. KO became his way of proving that growth doesn't mean weakness. Behind the microphone, NLE's motivation was personal. He saw himself as the counterweight to YoungBoy's influence. Two artists with massive youth followings, two different messages. YoungBoy's music often glorified rage, heartbreak, and chaos. NLE wanted to flip that energy. But to do it, he had to prove he could fight in the same ring and win. So he adopted the same aggression, the same cadence, but infused it with purpose. He wasn't just clapping back, he was making a statement. In interviews, he said, "I'm not here to destroy nobody. I'm here to show what leadership looks like." But that's the paradox. To preach peace in hip-hop, you first have to survive the war. And KO was his initiation. Whether fans saw him as a savior or a hypocrite didn't matter. What mattered was that everyone was talking. Streams soared, interviews exploded, and for the first time in years, NLE Choppa wasn't just trending for being positive. He was trending for being powerful. As the dust settled, the rap world waited for one thing: NBA YoungBoy's response. But it never came, at least not immediately. YoungBoy, who built his career on confrontation, stayed quiet. No diss, no post, no freestyle. Fans debated what it meant. Some said he was plotting a comeback track. Others believed his silence was strategic, that responding would only amplify NLE's message. But silence in hip-hop is never neutral. In a culture built on pride, staying quiet can sound like defeat. That gave NLE momentum. His narrative grew. The student had called out the master, and the master blinked. Even industry insiders began discussing the unspoken shift, the moment one rapper's energy took the cultural spotlight from another's. Behind closed doors, sources said YoungBoy's camp was furious about the Baton Rouge billboard stunt. To them, that wasn't promotion. That was disrespect on sacred ground. But reacting publicly would mean validating NLE's attack. So, for now, they waited. Meanwhile, NLE's fan base doubled. He was suddenly everywhere, trending on TikTok, headlining festivals, getting co-signs from artists who'd once ignored him. The message behind KO started morphing into a movement: accountability, energy, and change. And that's when people realized something. NLE hadn't just dissed a rapper, he'd hijacked a conversation. YoungBoy's silence, intentional or not, made the song even louder. Because in the echo chamber of hip-hop, sometimes silence sounds like surrender. When the smoke clears, KO will be remembered as more than just a diss. It's a cultural mirror. NLE Choppa didn't just challenge YoungBoy, he challenged what hip-hop has become. For years, rap beefs were about respect, reputation, and street dominance. But NLE made it about responsibility. He asked a question few rappers have dared to voice. What happens when the music that raises kids glorifies destruction instead of discipline? What happens when the biggest names, the role models, forget they're being watched? That's what made KO dangerous. It wasn't just fire, it was reflection. And reflection makes people uncomfortable. The diss forced fans to choose. Do we defend the chaos we love, or do we admit it might be hurting us? That's why, whether you agree with him or not, NLE Choppa's message stuck. He didn't just diss NBA YoungBoy, he made the world look in the mirror. Today, their feud remains unresolved. YoungBoy's camp stays quiet. NLE continues to evolve, balancing his peace with his power. But one truth stands firm. KO changed how we see both men. NLE proved that positivity doesn't mean passivity, that you can preach growth and still fight for respect. And in doing so, he may have done the rarest thing in modern rap: start a conversation that actually matters. Because at the end of the day, KO isn't about who wins the beef. It's about who grows from it.